In a prehistoric valley, the hunter was carrying a large bundle of firewood back home. Beside him, Dino was carrying one too. The pile was almost as big as he was. After only a few steps, a few branches slipped from his arms. He stopped, picked them up, took another step, and dropped them again. The hunter smiled and helped him gather the wood. For both friends, walking on two legs while carrying things felt completely normal. But if you look around the animal kingdom, something strange becomes obvious. Dogs don't do it. Horses don't do it. Bears can stand on two legs, but only for a moment. Most large mammals spend nearly their entire lives walking on four legs. Humans don't. We stand, we walk, we run, almost entirely on two legs. So, why are we so different? Why did our ancestors leave four legs behind? To answer that question, we need to travel back millions of years, long before humans even existed. If you could travel back about 7 million years, you wouldn't find people. You wouldn't even recognize our ancestors as human. They looked much more like modern apes. They climbed trees, moved through forests, and spent much of their time on all fours. For millions of years, that lifestyle worked perfectly. Trees provided food, shelter, and protection from many predators. There was little reason to change. Evolution doesn't create new abilities simply because they're interesting. It favors whatever helps a species survive. As long as life in the trees worked, there was little pressure to stand upright. But Earth itself was changing, and those environmental changes would eventually force our ancestors to adapt. Around 6 to 7 million years ago, parts of Africa began to change. The climate became drier. Dense forests slowly shrank. Open grasslands expanded across the landscape. Food became more spread out. Trees that once stood close together became separated by long stretches of open ground. For our ancestors, that created a new challenge. They could no longer spend their entire lives safely in the trees. To reach the next patch of forest, they often had to cross wide open areas. And out in the open, life was far more dangerous. Large predators could spot them from a distance. The hot African sun became another problem. Every journey required more energy, more awareness, and better ways to survive. Some scientists believe that these changing environments mark the beginning of one of the most important transformations in human history. Little by little, our ancestors started spending more time on two legs. At first, probably only for short distances. But over countless generations, those short moments became longer. And eventually, walking upright became their normal way of moving. So, why would standing on two legs help? Scientists have proposed several ideas, and the answer is probably not just one reason, but several working together. One obvious advantage was visibility. Standing upright allowed our ancestors to see over tall grass, spot predators earlier, and search for food across greater distances. Another advantage was efficiency. Walking on two legs over long distances uses less energy than many people expect. For animals crossing open landscapes every day, saving energy could make a real difference. But perhaps the biggest advantage was something completely different. Standing upright freed the hands. Hands could carry food, carry tools, carry babies, or gather valuable resources while still moving from place to place. Those free hands would eventually help shape the future of our species. But walking on two legs wasn't a perfect solution. Like every major change in evolution, it came with a cost. Walking on two legs didn't happen overnight. It was one of the slowest transformations in human evolution. The earliest possible evidence appears around 7 million years ago. These ancient ancestors may have stood upright from time to time, but they certainly didn't walk like we do today. Millions of years later came creatures like Australopithecus. They still climbed trees, but they also spent much more time walking on two legs. Then came Homo habilis, followed by Homo erectus. With each new species, the body slowly changed. The legs became longer, the feet became stronger, the spine developed its familiar S-shaped curve, the pelvis changed shape. And little by little, walking upright became faster, more stable, and far more efficient. Finally, around 300,000 years ago, modern humans appeared. By then, walking on two legs had become one of the defining features of our species. It had taken millions of years to perfect. Evolution rarely works quickly. Instead, it makes tiny improvements, generation after generation. Walking on two legs gave humans many advantages, but it also created problems. In fact, many of the aches and pains we experience today are the result of this ancient trade-off. Our backs carry the weight of the entire upper body. Our knees absorb enormous pressure every time we walk or run. Our feet support us for hours every day. Back pain, knee injuries, flat feet, hip problems. These are surprisingly common in humans, much less so in animals that move on four legs. Standing upright also changed childbirth. As our ancestors evolved larger brains, babies developed larger heads. At the same time, the pelvis had adapted for efficient walking. Those two changes created a difficult compromise. Human birth became longer, more painful, and more dangerous than in almost any other primate. Evolution isn't about creating perfection. It's about creating something that works well enough to survive. Walking on two legs brought incredible benefits, but nature made us pay a price for them. Back in the prehistoric valley, the hunter finally reached home. He placed the firewood beside the campfire. Dino arrived a few moments later, still carrying only half of the branches he had started with. The rest were scattered somewhere along the trail. The hunter couldn't help but smile. Together, they gathered the missing wood, built the fire, and sat down to watch the flames dance in the evening light. For them, walking on two legs felt completely ordinary. They never stopped to think about it. But every single step they took was the result of millions of years of evolution. Millions of years of changing landscapes, changing bodies, and countless generations adapting to a world that never stood still. Sometimes the biggest moments in history don't happen in a single day. They happen one small step at a time. And perhaps every step you take today carries the story of millions of years beneath your feet.